Hey, what's up? It's MMA Toad. I'm going to go through UFC 300, the most stacked card in UFC history, giving you my full fight predictions starting from the beginning all the way to the end. But first, I just want to say I cannot tell you guys enough how freaking excited I am to be at this card. My first ever UFC in attendance. I always told myself there were always certain fighters I would always wish to go see. We're at a point in some of their careers. This may be one of the last times. And what a better opportunity than to stack a card full of fighters I love, both new and old, and just enjoy it for what it is. A lot of UFC fight nights are very subpar because the pay-per-views are just always stacked, always just, trying to break new gate records, new pay-per-view records. The fans are constantly being starved for a card, and then you get this thing and it's like a fucking buffet. And if you know the MMA Toad, you know we love our fucking buffets, baby. So without further ado, let's get into this shit. Let's break it down. I just want to start off with just kind of taking a visual of what is about to unfold, because this is about to be a legendary night, and a lot of legacy will be born from this. So without further ado, starting off on the early prelims, one of the greatest first debut fights of a card. Deiveson Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt. That is an incredible matchup. They're two vicious strikers. Yes, Figueiredo is more of a threat if they do get into a clinch and the fight was to go to a ground, but I just don't see it happening. I think at this point, Figueiredo is feeling very good at bantamweight. I feel his transition from fly was the right thing to do. He looked really good in Rob Font. Brought the intensity. His striking's there. The only thing I could see is that Cody Garbrandt just giving it all he's got in the first round, going for one of those early lethal first round finishes. Typically, if he's not getting one of those early knockouts as the fight goes on, it doesn't end in his favor. I am going to officially go with Figueiredo, but I would really love to see Cody Garbrandt show up, surprise the shit out of us, bring that masterclass striking that he showed with Dominic Cruz back in the day, and just blow up the stadium, kicking the card off. Next on the early prelim, we have Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Jim fucking Miller, for those who won't hear it from Bruce, but it's incredible that this dude's been on 100, 200, and now 300. Living legend. Absolutely crazy. Bobby Green's last time out against Jalen Turner was not in his favor, and that is my concern going into this bout. It's more of a pick'em for me. Is Bobby Green going to look the same? Is he going to look the same on the feet? We'll see. Both of these fighters are pretty late into their career, so anytime they get finished, it could be it. It typically doesn't get better for them. That being said, I am going to go with Bobby Green by decision or knockout. So it's going to be a double method there for me. Jim Miller, I wouldn't be surprised if I threw like something up for a submission, just because he's got like 20 pro submissions. Yeah, 20 pro submissions, ever been tapped 3 times, only ever been knocked twice. That's why, of all people, I think Bobby Green has a better chance by decision. But, yeah, that's kind of going to be my pick'em fight. You could throw it either way. Fight going over 2.5 is probably the safest bet on distance. Whereas the Figueiredo fight with Garbrandt, probably under 2.5 would be fairly safe as well. Moving up in the early prelim, probably the least excited fight on the card. We got Marina Rodriguez and Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade has fought some of the best there have ever been, and she's lost a bunch, and she's won an okay amount. This phase in her career, I don't see her really making another run for the title. I think Rodriguez is an interesting one to see on the early prelim. She's actually beat Wei Li's opponent and Yan Shonan, so I thought that was pretty interesting. Rodriguez technically is just as competitive of a strawweight as Yan, but they wanted it, again, legacy. They wanted China versus China. who's the greatest, who's the best, who's representing us. That's why they did that matchup instead. I'm going to go Marina Rodriguez by decision. She either going to do that or hit a knockout, so I'm going to do a double method. I'm going to go Rodriguez with knockout or decision. Women bouts under 2.5 typically have a better payout odds, so I'll be paying attention. I don't know that I'll parlay it a bunch, but if the odds looking pretty good for under 2.5, I might play with that. We'll see. Andrade, hard to have a lot of stock in her. She 1 second you love her, the next she's a heartbreaker. In her defense, she's really lost to some of the better women in the weight class. So, is she game to be a top 10 for the entirety of her career? Absolutely. But I do see Rodriguez taking her in this fight. Finishing off the early prelim, we got Jalen Turner and Money Moicano. Dude's fucking hilarious. I love his YouTube segment, so if you're seeing this, what's up, bro? That one's a tough one because Moicano's really got the grappling, and if the fight were to go to the ground, he's heavily favored, but all fights start on the feet. Jalen Turner looked really good his last time out. Dude's really big for the weight class, I'll say that. And if Moicano offered a better threat on the feet, then I could see it kind of being in one of those fights where Moicano gets him to the ground, but I just don't see it happening. I see it on the feet and ending with a big kick up the middle to set up a vicious flurry, and Jalen Turner adds another TKO to his resume. So I'm going to go Turner on that. Breaking into the main prelim, the prospect I'm most excited about in UFC has channeled my little inner little wild beast back here. This fucking mullet has transitioned. I'm getting it trimmed up. You'll see me at UFC 300 rocking the Diego Lopez, my homie. He's got that car crash mentality where he's marching his opponents down. He's working with the hands, and if the fight goes to the ground or he thinks he can take his opponents back, he does so. He is a jiu-jitsu coach with Alexa Grasso, representing both Brazil and Mexico. Dude is phenomenal. I am so excited to watch his fight. He's fighting Sadiq Youssef, who's a Nigerian prospect. Looks pretty good. I don't think that he's fought the level of competition that Lopez has. I mean, his literal UFC debut was against Masvidal, and it was very last second. And holy shit, did he throw up several submission attempts and have him rocked on the feet at different times in the fight, where this kid just literally shows up and makes you think that, he's going to take a stab at the featherweight belt before too much time at all. So, wasn't too hard for me to be like, holy fuck, who is this guy? Do more research, go back, watch more of his fights. I'm a huge Diago fan. If you're into the trading cards, you got top 24. You can get his rookie autograph. You can get his rookie cards. Highly recommend. Try to go out, hit some mega boxes, or maybe just snipe some auctions on eBay. I picked up a couple autos so far, and I'm working on finishing his base set Rainbow right now. So, yeah, without further ado, let's keep going. But he's definitely one of the fights I was very excited about when I first visioned myself wanting to go to UFC. Who's on the card? As far as like prospects and people I can look back down the road and continue watching and enjoying, as a lot of these guys are veteran. I look forward to a lot of Diego Lopez fights to come. Moving into the prelims, we got Holly Holm and Kayla Harrison. Kayla is a fucking monster. She's got to first make weight, so the fight's got to happen by her making weight, or the fight won't happen. Her submission threat is what she's most dangerous for. Look at her resume. Holy fucking shit. Little man woman. But I could see Holly keeping it on the feet for maybe the first round or so, getting worn out, getting tired. Obviously offering a better threat with her striking, but the moment Kayla gets a hold of her, it's over. She's going to take her to the fucking ground. She's going to throw her down. She's probably going to work like a head and arm into like an arm bar or just something. Something like a Kimura maybe. I could just see Kayla grabbing Holly's arm and having control over it on the ground and hitting a submission that way. Speaking of submissions, leading up into the prelim, we got Aljamain Sterling versus Calvin Kattar. This will be the debut at featherweight for Aljamain, as he has now passed the torch for bantamweight to his teammate Merab, who's already lined up for the next title shot against Sugar. I'm very excited to see Aljamain here. I think, much like Figgy, that 10 pounds is such a vigorous cut for some of these guys, and that he's going to offer a lot more energy with his grappling. I think Calvin Kattar does a good job on the feet with Aljamain, but I think that because Calvin Kattar isn't a notorious, I'm coming forward, I'm striking, and he's also more dialed back and waiting to see what's coming to him, I think that Aljamain controls the tempo of this fight, gets a hold of Kattar, takes him to the ground, and backpacks, and either wears him out by decision or submission. So that is also a double method of mine, and I'll probably stay away from distance on that. Finishing up the prelim, you got Yuri versus Rakic. That's another crazy fight. I'm very surprised that between these last two prelim fights that wouldn't open up on the main card over Bo. I know it's like a hot topic in the MMA community, but yeah, it is what it is. They're trying to feed him and build his, his legacy and make sure that he's a big draw. So they're getting more people to buy the pay-per-views, simply put. Yuri's a really awkward striker. When he's mixing it in, it's fun. He's going to throw elbows. He's going to do spinning back fists. He's got this kind of like wide leg stance that I think Rakic could catch him out with some leg kicks, work into a flurry. That for me is also kind of one of my pick'em fights. I think distance is what I'm going to look at for this one. I'm going to choose under 2.5 and end by knockout. But my official pick for this one is I'll go with Yuri. I think Yuri catches him out. I think Yuri's hungry enough to make one last shot at it. There's just something way about that Poton fight, the way it ended, that I think he's like, okay, lesson learned, moving on. I think he's going to make one more run at the strap. Moving into the main card, just for talking about it a second ago, Bo Nickel makes his grand UFC 300 entrance against Cody Garbrandt, who's such an underdog that his knockout is like a plus 1,200 and his submission's like a plus 2,000 odd. Which, if you're into gambling, throw something up there, because those odds, even if it's just a little bit, if it hits, it's one of the best gambles you can make on the entire card. Bo Nickel ain't paying you shit. If you can parlay him, maybe it's a great leg to use, but if you're trying to bet like, oh, I bet $50 Bo Nickel wins, holy fuck, are you going to look really stupid if you win, because you're going to get like maybe $3 back or $5 back. It's just, he's not a good pick in terms of odds. But is he a favorite on this card? Absolutely. He's the most locked in pick on the entire card. They're trying to feed my man so that he can blossom and, fulfill his dream. Fight Hamza, fight some of these other great middleweights. And they're going to pick and choose his opponents very wisely. So that is pretty much a given fight. From the rest of the card on, minus Wei Li, I say we have some potential wars on our hands. It's going to go either which way. So give me your feedback, give me your comments below. If your picks are different than mine, love to hear it. And we can agree to disagree. Without further ado, one of my favorite fighters as well on the card, a big part of why I want to be here, Du Bronx, Charles Oliveira. He put his 12-fight streak on the line against Islam Makhachev. It did not go his way. He is fighting another opponent who has a vigorous forward pressure of grappling, wrestling, and striking, and Arman Tsarukyan. This is a great matchup. I think it's a great way for us, without officially getting the rematch with Islam, it's a way to see, has Charles really taken in his lessons, his feedback, and what is he doing different? I think that Charles on the feet surprises Arman. I wouldn't be surprised if he sparks him the way that he has with Chandler and Justin, and just really surprises Arman, gets his respect, turns into some type of like scramble where Charles gets his back, works a rear naked choke, works for a triangle, one way or another. I'm not surprised at all if this fight goes under 2.5. You got the greatest finisher in UFC history, and I would hit double method. I would do submission and knockout for DuBronx. So, yeah, that's a crazy one. I am so excited for that. I can't say it enough. Charles fucking Oliveira brings it. I think the dude's a big star, and he's only going to continue to hunt big names. If he's not getting a title shot, yeah, he's calling out McGregor. He's calling out, some of these guys. I think if Chandler beats McGregor, depending who he's lined up against, and assuming he cuts back down to lightweight, I think Charles and Chandler too would be fucking hilarious, by the way. So, because Chandler just simply brings a dogfight out of everybody. So, something to look forward to. I'm just throwing that up there as like maybe another fantasy matchup down the road. But I think Charles, especially if he can secure this win, he's also very deserving, much like Justin Gaethje, and potentially fighting for that strap sooner than later. Without further ado, leading into title bouts, these are championship bouts. Yes, the BMF belt is about championship 5-round bout. And here's the thing that makes me happy about this. I'm pretty sure Justin Gaethje gets pay-per-view points. I'm pretty sure Justin Gaethje is going to get to make more money than he would without this strap. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's just the way I believe it's going to play out. And no one more deserving, I think, right now than Max Holloway to jump in and challenge for this thing. He's seemed to know that he was going to have this fight ahead of time because he's had time to prepare and bulk and transition that extra 10 pounds into the lightweight coming from feather, despite everything with Volk and Ilya is still fairly fresh. Max didn't just jump into this. He's not just some blubbery featherweight. He was pretty fit before. He was calculated about how he did this. He looks fucking huge. And I expect this to be a war. I expect Justin Gaethje to hurt the fuck out of Max. Can he crack the chin? Can he finish Max? That is a big question. And I find it interesting because I follow a lot of Gaethje's interviews, being literally one of my favorite fighters of all time. And he says one way or another he wants to finish Max Holloway. He doesn't care how. He just has to get him out of there. He's also hungry for the idea that if he hits a fight bonus, it's going to be like $300,000. 300 for 300, And so I could see Gaethje hurt Max, and then literally finds a way to finish Max, even if it's by submission. I think he's going to go to crack him. I think he's going to go to finish him. But if it's not happening on the feet, he's gonna try to get Max Holloway out of there. Gaethje is my official pick on this. I think he can chop at the legs and hurt Max Holloway in ways that he's never really been hurt since maybe Dustin. And I think, at the end of the day, Holloway is one of the greatest featherweights of all time. Gaethje is one of the greatest lightweights of all time. They're both car crashes, but Max is known more for his cardio, more for his volume. Gaethje is just a fucking car crash. And yes, he's more dangerous than ever before because he's more calculated, he's more patient. He isn't just putting himself out there where he's also more acceptable. So yeah, I got Gaethje by knockout, and hopefully that hits. I mean, if he wins by decision, hey, he wins by decision. I'm still very happy, but I hope it would make so much sense for his legacy, for his character, the way he fights, if he just went out and was the first ever to make history by knocking Max Holloway. All right. So, co-main event. You got Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan. That fight is favoring for Weili. Weili is going to have better grappling, better control of where the tempo of this fight goes. And Yan's really great on the feet with her striking. But I simply see Weili working in double method, knockout, or submission, and probably doing this under 3 rounds. This fight is because it's China versus China, and the rankings kind of make sense. So we have it. Going back to what I said earlier, I wouldn't have been surprised if someone like Rodriguez could have almost been there. She's like a win or 2 away. That's why she didn't get it. But if you look at her resume, she's already beaten Yan. Back in, 22. So fairly fresh. 2 years ago. So kind of interesting, right? But yeah, Weili, it's a title fight. Yeah, I know women's MMA isn't super popular. I love Whaley. I love, again, the mentality of coming forward, trying to work for a finish. She's not trying to cheese a system on points. She's a through and through warrior, and I love that about her. If it wasn't for Rose, she would have nearly a perfect record. But even without it, she's still part of that conversation of, women's Hall of Fame UFC. Definitely one of the greatest at strawweight. So, yeah, let's go. All right, main card time. This is a very, very difficult conversation to have. You got Poatan, 7 fights. Dude comes in, a fucking marauder, his glory kickboxing resume, and hunts down Izzy, dethrones Izzy, and despite Izzy had the last laugh, as he says, basically stole a lot of fan base, a lot of eyes in the UFC, were fixed on Poatan as being one of the most dangerous strikers of all time. And then in opposition, you got Jamal Hill, where through and through, he's a boxer. He's a gamer. He's never been knocked out. And yeah, he just tore his ACL going into this fight, which is going to play a big, big role in the strategy, I'm sure, for Poatan. They're going to be looking to kick that leg and demobilize Jamal and take away his striking the best they can before really opening up on him, maybe second, third round. But that first round, you can expect a lot of leg kicks. The thing that hurts Poatan is my man holds his head of stone, right down the center line. And I think Jamal's striking, his boxing, although it might just look like he throws it out there and just keeps that hand hanging, I think he's a great headhunter. I think he's a great finisher. I think he's a great striker. And so I could see just as easily Jamal Hill hitting right down the pike, landing a jab, and cracking this shit out of Poatan. And at the end of the day, you got this little scenario right here, which is, yeah, when Poatan was opening up on Izzy, he also was very vulnerable too. And guess what? When he got caught by Izzy, like a true middleweight, he went to the shadow realm. If Jamal Hill can connect flush on Poatan, that could kill the man. Like, I'm not even joking. Jamal Hill has the power that could put Poatan the fuck out. But at the same time, they're each a kryptonite to each other, because as Poatan is, maybe down the middle line, not moving his head, bobbing, weaving, mixing it up in any kind of way, they're not going to grapple at all. This is a sheer striking match. Jamal Hill he leaves that hand down where the famous left hook from Poatan that he's got highlight clips knocking everybody out with could just be the thing to send Sweet Dreams to take his own fucking nap. So the fight's going to go either way. It's one of the toughest picks for me. Yeah, you got the ACL, which is another reason why Potan's likely going to win the fight. I understand Potan's the favorite. I understand most people want to pick him. But I'm kind of riding the underdog in Jamal Hill to hit this knockout. And I'll tell you this, and I ain't afraid to admit this. Jamal Hill's gym's only like an hour from my spot over in Grand Rapids. But, I'm a fan of both these men. And I'm kind of happy for either of them. But, yeah, I'm going to ride the underdog despite the injury, despite the bullshit. I'm going to say Jamal Hill catches him and shows him some light heavyweight power that he hasn't got to experience both in Jan or Yuri. Jan, he had shoulder blade injuries. He hasn't really quite been the same for some time. And Yuri's just awkward in ways. And I think he also could have had opportunities in that fight that never truly got to unfold to show Poatan that, he's also susceptible to a big knockout at 205. So those are going to be my official picks. Hope you guys enjoyed. This has been the MMA Toad. I'll have a lot of content coming to you guys in Vegas. You can expect a lot of photos, videos, meet and greets. We're going to have a good ass time. So, as always, much love. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Peace.